My dad passed away when I was 12 years old, and the next 5 years of living with my mom were not the sunshine and rainbows that we always hoped it would be. Depression made her intolerable most of the time, and I was far too young and selfish to know how to help or have the endurance to keep trying. Eventually, she sent me to live with a friend to finish out high school, as she moved away to a medical clinic in Knoxville, and this eventually got the better of her with her depression. On June 14th, 2016, my mom committed suicide. Here's where God began to write the next chapter in my life, the victory chapter. I met this crazy guy named Ryan Krillis in the prayer room of the CHOP.
I just saw this scruffy-haired kid down in the prayer room, and I just kind of sensed that the Lord wanted me to talk to him, so we hit it off, and from there it just turned into meeting weekly, and then he started becoming a regular presence in our home, and we just fell in love with him.
And I started to get dinner with Ryan and Heather at their house on a weekly basis. Over the course of the months passing by and me growing and maturing a lot in my faith, I just started to get really close to them, or at least he used to say things to me like, I'm not trying to be your dad, and I know that like I don't feel like a dad to you and stuff. I'm not trying to be that, we're just like friends and just pouring into you. But after a while, like I think he stopped saying that, because I think he genuinely started to have a desire to maybe even be that for me. I didn't know that the Lord was stirring that in him and Heather.
I remember hearing clearly, "Will you pray for Jared as if you were his mother and father?" And for me, whenever God, and he invited us into a few deeper levels even than that, but for us it was like, well, yeah, God, absolutely, we love Jared. So it was never a burden or something that we even had to think twice about, and it was an absolute yes to the Lord. And so we just kept praying for him, and through that I think God drew us closer to Jared. Yeah, he just became a regular installment in our home, and we loved him.
Ryan and Heather started to pour into me in these very unique ways. They would say all these things about my future and about like how much they know the Lord's going to do in my life, but they would also say like, we want to be a part of it, Jared. Like we don't want to go anywhere. They were like, we promise we're going to be there. One day, when you get married or have kids or you go move away, like we will still be there. We will always want to be a part of your life. And I always thought that sounded amazing, but honestly, I never contemplated the possibility of that being like a official legal thing such as adoption.
Some of his friends started approaching us and saying, "Hey, why don't you just adopt him? He's like your son anyway, and he really talks highly of you guys like you're his parents." And even Jared would say, "You're the only parents I've ever known." And for us, it was like, well, I don't know if we can. But Heather actually took the ball and ran with it on that one. She started doing the research, and she found out that we could. And so then the excitement in us started to build, because deep down inside, I think I even told this to Jared sometime, I wish we had met you when you were younger, because we absolutely would have loved to have adopted you.
And so they started to look into it immediately, because he got really excited, because I think Ryan has always been thinking about doing that, or at least for the past year is what he's expressed to me. And so after a while, they sat me down at the dinner table one day, and it was so funny because Ryan acted like it was going to be something I should have expected, and he was like, "I'm sure you know what we're about to ask you," and then he drops it on me.
And I just remember I was like, and I looked at Heather, and did you just kind of nod at me?
Yeah.
I think you did. And I looked at Jared, and I just said, "Jared, we want to adopt you." And Jared, for the record, Jared was the first one to tear up. It was not me.
And so I didn't give him the like, "Yeah, let's do it," that he probably wanted to hear at first. But I gave him like that's so like amazing. I didn't think that was a possibility. Like, let me think about it. But like, that sounds awesome. I don't want to make it sound like it's a no. Man, after praying about it and thinking about it for a while, part of me was like, why am I hesitant? Why? Like, I've been praying, even when my mom was still alive, that the Lord would bless me with some family that I've never had. I never contemplated that Ryan and Heather could like physically become my family, and that their family could actually become my family.
I was just reading Psalm 68 one day, and there's a couple verses in there that says, it says that God is a father to the fatherless and a protector of widows in his holy habitation, and that he sets the solitary or the lonely, not sets, but settles them in a home. And so that word settles to me is really significant, where it's not just you're placed there or you're put there, but the Lord settles you there, where there's a place where you're established and you belong, and there's a level of comfort there as well.
When this happened and I was asked this by Ryan and Heather and I started praying about it, I really felt the Lord give me this peace and be like, this is it. This is me restoring even more than what you thought was possible. And so don't even dare think of rejecting it. Like, this is my plan for you. And these people love you more than you ever thought that parents could love you, more than your own parents loved you and poured into you. And so after a while, the decision became pretty obvious for me, and I came up to Ryan and Heather and I was like, I want to do it. And they went a little crazy. Ryan went way more crazy than Heather did, of course, because he has enough craziness for both of them.
And I think the biggest thing for me, I thought that the adoption was going to bless Jared, because I thought, yeah, we'll be able to offer him stability and just let him know we're not going anywhere. But once that adoption went through and the judge said, okay, meet your parents, here's your son, I didn't realize how much it would affect me. And I was like, God, what is this? And he said, Ryan, you're able to love him now without reservation, because you're both he's part of your family. And so for me, that was really awesome. And yeah, so now he's our son.
For me, I think that's part of the significance for all of us, where it's, because of course for us, there's definitely an area of pain when we weren't able to have our own children, and we had gone through the foster care system, and that was a heartache for us as well. But just the whole idea that the Lord is about family, and he had told a few years ago told us that just like you have a story about your marriage, you're going to have a story about being parents too. And so we've got this story to tell now, and that whole sense of belonging to one another is really amazing.
I think with what the future looks like is I'm going to have more of a family environment than I ever thought I really would. And I think that I'm going to have a familial and a spiritual base camp in my life for everything that the Lord calls me to do. And I just honestly never thought that was possible. I thought that was something that was out of my reach, and so it's pretty amazing.